Hello and the warmest of welcomes to this another episode of Random Reviews right here on Mason's Music Library. I'm your humble host Carl Mason, and in this week's episode we're discussing for the first time on this channel a motion picture soundtrack. Music in movies are so important to the experience. They add to the narrative and follow the characters, and today I want to celebrate one of my all-time favourite movie soundtracks for the fantastic film Drive. Composed by Cliff Martinez, this is such an interesting album that features some simply incredible moments. So, without further ado, let's get straight into the review. So if you're unfamiliar with the film Drive, it's a superbly stylistic film released in 2011 that honestly blew me away the first few times I watched it because of its incredible attention to atmosphere that came thanks in no small part to this phenomenal soundtrack right here. Now, the Drive soundtrack, or at least this version that I have, features a mix of 4 incredible songs by various artists such as Kavinsky and College that lend themselves so well to the overarching film score that again was composed by Cliff Martinez, who did the most remarkable job with this project. This soundtrack does for me everything a good soundtrack should do. It helps establish the characters, plot points, as well as contributing to the general tone and mood of the film. And this is where this album really, for me, shines. In the tone it establishes for the audience, even if the audience doesn't necessarily realise it. For me, I feel the reason this album is so significant to myself and so many others is that it's so saturated in style. I mean, if you were to define this album, or the film for that matter, with just one word, that word would be style. And I think this comes from the very coherent artistic direction that this project moves in, drawing heavily from the nostalgic sounds of the 1980s, taking influence, it would seem, from film scores such as Vangelis' soundtrack for another one of my favourite films, Blade Runner, that features the same grandiose production with a heavy blend of sweeping synths that gently glide the listener through the protagonist's quest. And it's this way in which the music helps to guide the hero's quest that is executed so perfectly in Drive, as the subtle changes in music direct the listener, even if it's just on a subconscious level, through the highs and lows of this story in the most whimsically wonderful way. Next up, I want to talk about the composition of some of the tracks on this project, because Cliff took such a unique approach to the composition of this album, drawing in some of the most unbelievable sounds that add so much impact, not only to the songs, but the story. For example, I love how the track, After the Chase, the song opens up with that otherworldly synth horn that echoes throughout the intro, giving the listener the feeling of panic or unease before they subtly reveal what comes after the chase. Now just take a listen. This song just has such a fantastic effect, particularly in the context of the film, as it helps us to see through the eyes of our hero by shocking us into a more susceptible state with the intro before quickly shifting the tone, drawing us into a more comfortable soundscape that again draws the listeners into the story the score is telling. Now, I briefly want to go over why I think this album is so special and why I have returned to it at so many points since I first came across it. And that's that it has such a hypnotically transient effect on me. I love music like this for how meditative I find it to be, as the generally soft and calming nature of it takes me out of my mind for a minute, focusing me on the subtle sounds and how each movement in the music manifests a different emotional response. And that's what you might call mindfully listening to music, allowing yourself to truly experience how the sound affects you, all while allowing it to draw you into the moment and out of your mind. And this is why this kind of cerebral music is so important to me, because it's the most wonderful form of meditation. So why not let us give it a try together? So I'm going to play this song, I Drive, for you, and while I do, I want to encourage you to sit upright. If you have some headphones, pop them on, but just allow the music to really drift within and without you. Okay, so take a full deep breath, counting to 5 on the inhale, hold for 5 counts, and then exhale for 7. This is called pranayama breathing. Do it at your own pace, but remember, 5-second inhale, 5-second hold, 7-second exhale. Allowing your mind to be present. Don't strain to listen to the music, just allow your ears to do what they do, your eyes if you haven't already. And with any thoughts that drift into your mind, allow them to drift right back out. There's no need to be attached to these air pockets of thought that bubble to the surface of your mind. Just allow them to pop on the surface of your consciousness, freeing there that was trapped within. And breathe. Always remember the breath here, friends, making sure to breathe gently. No force here, just work with the breath's natural rhythm, allowing the oxygen to flow into areas of the body it might not have for some time. Okay, so now I'm going to leave you to enjoy the rest of your musical meditation. Just remember to breathe and allow the music to carry you away. Okay, so before I close up this week's episode of Rambling Reviews, I wanted to touch on my 3 personal highlights from the Drive soundtrack, starting off with the song A Real Hero by College featuring Electric Youth. A phenomenal synth-pop song that has a totally unique tone and style to it, all whilst being totally influenced by the artists of the 80s, like Giorgio Moroder or Tears for Fears. It's just such a super stylistic song that fits amazingly in the context of this film. Next up is actually one of the shortest but most cerebral tracks, The Wrong Floor. For me, I just love this little musical expression as it links so well to the movie. Basically, it's a bit in the film where Ryan Gosling's character has to kill that guy in an elevator, and that scene is so revealing of his character, and this song perfectly demonstrates his vulnerability and struggles in the world he's been caught up in, almost as if he's on the wrong floor. Finally, I just have to discuss mine and I think most people's favourite songs from this movie, and that's Kavinsky's magnum opus, Nightcore. An incredibly immersive synth-pop anthem that, thanks to this movie, has turned a lot of people on to his fantastic music, that again draws massive influence from the sounds of the past, but it's just carried out in such an incredibly, intoxicatingly cool way. In a way so cool that words kind of fall short. So instead of mulling over it, I'll just play it for you right now. Enjoy. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to have to wrap up this week's episode of Rambling Reviews. This album has been such a big part of my life since it came into it. Probably one of my most played vinyls, as it makes for just such a good background soundtrack, whether I'm working or relaxing. And a big thanks to my brother, by the way, who bought it for my birthday. Cheers, James. And thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode. I hope you all enjoyed this video. As for me, it was something a little bit different, but I would love to talk about more iconic movie soundtracks down the line. So if you have any suggestions at all, drop me a line in the comments section down below. And if you would like to see more from Mason's Music Library, then subscribe to the channel. I sure would appreciate that. But before you head out, I have this week's recommended listening list. Just a few songs that nicely complement this project. Starting out with Above Your Head by Anorak. Next up is Rachel's Song by the legendary Vangelis. And last but by no means least is Will She Come Back by the one and only Cliff Martinez. So thank you once again for joining me, Carl Mason, for another episode of Rambling Reviews. It was my utmost pleasure as always, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take it easy.